fantastic it is to see all these Phi Theta Kappas here at Delaware Tech. It's so awesome. Today we'd like to share with you our journey that we traveled on from the time when we began researching the Honors in Action themes and how our research eventually led us to the title of our project and the presentation we have for you today. Are you using your smartphone or is it using you? We'd also like to thank you for participating in our project and our surveys and all the experiences that you shared with us when we filmed you at Millersville. That was a big part of our Honors in Action project. Can any of you guys remember where they brought a group of people into a room, they collect cell phones, and the guy stands up and takes them over to a wood chipper and throws them in there? Everybody's like, what? They're just kind of looking around in stunned silence, and their expressions were just traumatic. I mean, it was like they just had their puppy coming from them or something. But the thought of suddenly losing all of your data, all of your photos, all of your personal information, it really hits home to how connected to our phones that we really are. Our phones are our inner vault that contain the timelines of our lives. They hold our memories from all the events that we've attended, and they connect us to the communities that we belong to, and they connect us to the world that we live in. So as we dive into sharing our research with you, we'd like to ask you to put your phones down and disconnect for a few minutes. We probably all felt a little anxious like sometimes. We find ourselves offline due to various reasons. And we wanted to get a better understanding of why that is, what it's doing to us. And so, how it all began, Sam Wallace told us about what it takes to really get into an Honors in Action research project and all the research you do into the themes before you really get on the road of your Honors in Action project. And so the five of us, along with our regional advisors, we started into our research by talking about all these 8 different themes, reading up about the different aspects of them, researching the themes. We talked about what interested us. We conducted further research. And after numerous meetings and research discussion, we chose theme 7, like John said, innovation and replication. When we started researching how ideas are replicated and discussing the types of innovations that there are that have made a dramatic impact on how the world works, we found ourselves talking about how the electronic devices we own, which connect us to the internet, have changed our lives, and how manufacturing of those electronic devices has an impact across the globe. And that's what we started looking at, the consumerism, how it's all marketed to us, and how smartphones have really spread around the world. So going into Millersville, our team have been focusing on how the wide variety of these devices always have a next generation, and it's always pushed, and we need the next best and greatest. And we're asking ourselves where all the raw materials came from, where do they go, when we get rid of them, what happens to them? So there's a discussion at Millersville with Dr. Lynn Tinker-Ladner, and our focus was reshaped. We kind of shifted the economic effect of smartphones on community college students, our nation, and the world at large. And our new research question became then, how does the innovation of technology, specifically smartphones, impact the economy of the world, the U.S., and our community college students? And our project led us down the road of looking at how the proliferation has changed many aspects of our daily lives. So with that, I'd like to hand it off to Azaria.
So after we determined our new research question, our team started discussing the economic effect of smartphones on community college students, our nation, and the world. We noticed that community college students are affected by the amount of money that they pay for their phones. However, as our discussions progressed, our focus started shifting. And we found a New York Times article called The End of Reflection. In this article, the author was talking about himself using his smartphone constantly. He mentions that you usually interact with the environment, like you'd go for a walk or look around. But nowadays, he interacts more with his phone. With all of the electronic platforms that we can use to communicate with each other, we noticed that handwritten messages are becoming more of a rarity. And not only that, but we saw students may sometimes write messages very briefly, sort of how you'd write a text. These discussions, these thoughts moved us to considering how smartphones are affecting our thinking, our interactions, and learning. We had already noticed some of the effects that smartphones had on us in these three areas, which brought us to start digging deeper and researching these topics. And this brought us to our final research question, which was, how does the innovation of technology, specifically smartphones, impact our learning, our interactions, and how our brain functions? With our research question focused on smartphones and how they impact us, we created our first survey. We were looking to understand how the members of the region and beyond use their smartphones. This survey was available initially to the members of our region, and then it spread beyond our region because we were looking to add a global perspective to our survey. As we were creating the questions for our survey, our hypothesis was that the respondents would place a higher value on their smartphones and also have a higher level of anxiety. They did not have immediate access to their smartphones. However, we noticed that the majority of the participants did place a high value on their smartphones, but reported a lower level of anxiety. And this realization led us to exploring the topic deeper to see the impact of smartphones and we created a second survey to test our hypothesis again. And we conducted further research exploring the three areas of our research question. One particular source that we found involved a study conducted on university students in UAE, Lebanon. In this study, the researchers used a short assessment to measure the risk of smartphone dependency for students. They also observed the relationship between lower GPA scores and higher levels for the risk of smartphone dependency. And based on the assessment in this study, we created our second survey to help us see the risk of smartphone dependency in our region and beyond. So here are the two questions that we used from our first survey that grabbed our attention. These were the ones we were hypothesizing about, and we were trying to kind of see where our hypothesis would take us. And they're the two questions that really led us to explore the effect of smartphones. So take a look and think about how you would respond to these questions. So on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the least value and 5 being the greatest value, how many of you would place a value of 3 or above on your smartphone? And by a show of hands, right? A lot of us have a huge value for our smartphones. But let me ask you this, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 representing absolute calm and 5 representing extreme distress, how much anxiety would you feel when you don't have immediate access to your phone? A level of 3 or above, what do you think? How would you be? By a show of hands. But not as much, right? Right. And that's what led us to really try to refocus our questions and look at this from a different angle and a different perspective to see what else we could talk about. And with this,
thank you, Azaria. Okay, we're going to move into the academic research, and as Azaria had stated, the smartphone addiction study related to lower GPA scores. There's strong evidence on the adverse effect of smartphone addiction and on academic performance. The highlights of this is that the high risk of smartphone addiction are less likely to achieve high GPAs. And keep in mind, this is a risk factor. This doesn't necessarily mean if you have a lower GPA that you're going to become addicted to your phone. Well, we also, the research also pointed us to is that gender is irrelevant. It really didn't matter. And multitasking with the smartphone, such as Facebook or texting or tweeting, while doing schoolwork, had a negative effects on a student's overall GPA. Not really a surprise there. We were looking at a TED Talk from Sherry Turkle. And the TED Talk is called Connected But Alone. And she mentions that people are gaining an I share, therefore I am mentality. We use technology to define ourselves by sharing our thoughts and feelings, even as we're having them. So before it was, I have a feeling. I want to make a call. Now, I want to have a feeling. I need to send a text. The problem with this new regimen of I share, therefore I am, is that if we don't have connection, we don't feel like ourselves. We almost don't feel ourselves. So what do? We connect more and more, and in the process, we set ourselves up to be isolated. Now, Turkle brought up 4 provocative statements. Number 1, she said, we are letting it, the smartphone, take us places we don't want to go. Number 2, smartphones are psychologically powerful. They change what we do, and they change who we are. Another thing, number 3, was alone together. How many of you have seen this, where there's several people in a room? They're texting together, alone. I've seen it many times. She really hits the point home. And number 4, we expect more from technology and less from each other. Now, while the last statement was obviously funny, this isn't. That we expect more from this device than we do from the people that we associate with, the people that we love, the people that we care about. There's something wrong. We need to think about it. The anticipations of notifications, I like to call this Don's electronic dopamine delivery system. Now, I don't know where I got the phrase. I don't know if I read it. I don't know if I saw it. I have no idea where it came from, but I like it. Why we're all addicted to text, Twitter, and Google. This comes from Psychology Today. And the culprit is dopamine. Dopamine is created in various parts of the brain and is critical to all sorts of brain functions, including thinking, moving, sleeping, mood, attention, motivation, seeking, and reward. Pleasure versus seeking. Dopamine controls the pleasure systems of the brain to seek out things like food, sex, drugs, things that make us feel good. Dopamine makes you curious. We get caught in dopamine loops. Instant gratification. We want to talk to somebody, what do? We send a text. Instant gratification, because we know shortly after we send that text, something's coming back. We want to look up some information. What do? We Google. And we Google, and we Google, and 30 minutes later, we might still be Googling. We want to look up a colleague. We go to LinkedIn. You see, dopamine starts you seeking. Getting rewarded for the seeking makes you seek more. It becomes harder and harder to stop looking at email, to stop texting, or to stop checking your cell phone to see if you have a message or a new text. And unpredictability is the key. Dopamine is also stimulated by unpredictability. That's exactly what stimulates the dopamine system. In Pavlovian cues, the dopamine system is especially sensitive to these cues. So when the sound of a text message ding comes in, what do? We got to see it. We've got to check it. Oh, wait a minute, we're working on something. Like, wait a minute, we'll switch tasks for a second. So we check the text out, we go back, and well, now we forgot where we're at. And the short message system is 140 characters. And that makes it even more addictive, because the information is coming in small bites. And it doesn't fully satisfy. I'll give you a good example of this when I'm cutting Nutsy's toenails. Oh, wait a minute, Nutsy is my dog. when I'm cutting her toenails, as long as I'm feeding her little bits of kibble, she'll let me cut them toenails all day, including if I hit a click. She don't care, just feed her. And that's what happens to us. The information is small, it doesn't satisfy. And it's not without cost. The constant stimulation of the dopamine system can be exhausting. Constantly switching of attention makes it hard to get anything accomplished. We need to get out of the dopamine loop, or prevent it from happening in the first place. And how do we stop that dopamine loop? We turn off the cues. How do we turn off the cues? We adjust the settings on our cell phone, our laptop, our desktop, our tablet. The automatic notifications that we have, they're nice, they're convenient, they're great. The problem is, it makes us feel like a rat in a cage. If you want to get work done, you can't constantly be attending to that Pavlovian cue. We got to break the dopamine loops. Many of us are unaware of smartphone usage. People are not aware how much they are using their smartphones. We know this from the surveys that we put out there. Pavlovian cues replace face-to-face interaction. How do you feel about this? Does it make you wonder? Does it make you think? There's so many functions that are in this phone right now. And you're going to see an example of that. It used to be that's what you would have at home. And right now, most of you have it right on your phone. You probably have more. There's many more functions that you can perform. It's really sobering to take a look at that. And that's only a small portion of what we could have brought. I mean, we were talking about bringing an Encyclopedia Britannica, an old typewriter, and other things, but we kind of figured that would be a little bit overkill. And finally, multilinear research led us to the same conclusion. The three of us independently ended up finding and analyzing the same article. Yet, we all came to the same conclusion. Now, I want to turn it over to you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, first thing first, how many of you actually took the survey? All right, I would like to thank each and every single one of you nerds for taking that survey. You have been an invaluable resource to the Middle States Regional Officers team and yourselves in pushing this project forward. If you took the survey, please clap for everyone who actually took the survey. Nerds. All right, as mentioned earlier, the results of our first survey brought us to the realization that our hypothesis was wrong. There's nothing wrong with being wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Which was that our respondents would place a high value on their smartphones, and that at the same time, they would have a high level of anxiety when they did not have immediate access to their devices. Our second survey built off the self-assessment used in the smartphone addiction study mentioned earlier. The researchers used a shortened version of the smartphone addiction scale to gauge the risk of smartphone addiction among university students. Seems kind of relevant to me, doesn't it? That said, we conducted our second survey to examine the issue from a different perspective, to understand why our hypothesis was not supported. With this, we realized that it was not an issue of anxiety, but rather of dependency. The second survey played a pivotal part in advancing our project to our awareness piece. So, can you raise your hands for me real quick if the first question, that you use your smartphone longer than intended, applies to you? All right. So 80% of respondents, you included, are using their smartphones more than they originally planned to. You have to ask yourself, what is it about a smartphone that makes it so hard to put down? Is it the text message, the phone calls, the emails, the Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat? See, I don't use this stuff. I don't have a problem with it. Or is it simply put, the Pavlovian cues? Yeah. Now, I'm guessing a lot of you are also guilty of this, since over 50% of those who took the survey are, which is checking the smartphone for updates constantly. Raise your hands, admit it, come on. Thank you for being honest. And nearly half of the respondents admitted that they think about their smartphone or its apps. Who's guilty? Okay. I sentence you to nothing. Now, as part of our second survey, we had an open-ended question section in which we asked, what would you do for 30 minutes with your smartphone turned off? Now, the first section, entertainment, included video games, television, Netflix, anything that you can just veg out to. So, but without your smartphone. Reading included, well, reading, like newspapers and books. You guys know that there are paper versions of those, right? Okay. Just checking. 8% of people said sleep. Raise your hands if you said sleep. Why? 30 minutes of sleep if your phone was turned off. This is actually very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Nearly a full quarter of everyone suggested they would spend, they would spend time doing something related to schoolwork, studying, writing, or the like. Another 13% said that they would socialize. So by socialize, when I did this breakdown, people were putting down, I would spend time with my daughter. I would spend time with my friends. I'd spend time with my wife, my husband. I'd make dinner. And a third of all respondents said they would do something else, such as exercising or going outside and simply enjoying nature, which I kind of thought is odd, since if you have Pokemon Go, you could do that, because there's a Mewtwo outside. I know, I'm lying. So, this is a word cloud. And then, okay. So, what would you do? What would you be doing if you were not on your phone? And this is a visual demonstration of what everyone said. As you can see from the word cloud, time, family, reading, homework, studying, and sleep. Of all things, people sleep. Yes. Is what respondents would do if they simply had their phone off for 30 minutes. Now, consider for a moment if you left your phone off for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, what could you accomplish in the real world? And now I turn it over to Rebecca.
Everyone to be mindful of saw that work and studying were pretty big on word cloud. And in a recent article from NJ101,
You're the kind of funny though. I want you to high five
yes.
her.
We're gonna bring out the wood chipper. In a recent article from NJ101.5.com, a psychologist stated that we are losing the art of being quiet with ourselves. People just don't really know how to do that, so they get focused on being connected. And so much of our research has supported that claim. And so we really want to emphasize the importance of unplugging and mindfully disconnecting from your phone, maybe once a week, a few times a day, whatever you're comfortable with. And this article also went on to discuss New Jersey drivers using their cell phones while driving. And last year alone, there were over 65,000 tickets issued for cell phone use just in the state. I'm from New Jersey, so I know about New Jersey. And it's the first offense for using your cell phone in New Jersey is between $200 and $400. I don't know about you guys, but I do not want to pay that money for using my phone while driving. And in Pennsylvania, you can talk hands-free on your phone, but you can't text. You can't text in any state in the MiddleStatesRegion, obviously. But yeah, it's just so important to be mindful, because if you're using your phone while driving, it's obviously going to create a lot of issues, not just for you, but for the people on the road. And so as part of our awareness campaign, we are doing a Technology Tuesday, and it's starting from, I believe, next week all the way until December. And as part of our awareness campaign on smartphone dependency, we're going to schedule posts every Tuesday with facts about the different aspects of dependency and how it affects the way we function. And so we're asking all of you to share your experiences and any research you've learned through maybe hearing it through a friend, reading an article, discussing it in class. So we really want you all to participate in this. And so we want you all to bring this information back to your chapters, which is why you're all getting brochures, and we're also going to give you your own copy of the brochure. So share it with your chapters and your community.
Thank you, Becca. Okay, another thing we did is we put together a video. This comes, the verbiage comes from something I read on Quora and shared it with you. We all agreed that we wanted to make that. So here's a video for you. What do intelligent people do with their phones? I hope you like it.
What do intelligent people do with their phones? We answer that question with today's top 10 countdown. Number 10. They turn the phone off and put it away during the night. They don't sleep with the phone, and they don't scroll the Twitter feed at 3 a.m. Sleep is the priority of smart people. Number 9. They turn off the notifications while they work, because the focus is the essential component of the productive work. Number 8. They put it away when they talk to someone. They are fully present and devoted to the person in front of them. Number 7. They uninstall the apps they don't use. Cluttered phone creates a cluttered mind. Number 6. They take photos. They capture the moments and memories, but they don't look into the world through the camera. Number 5. They listen to podcasts and audiobooks on the go. That's the best usage of their time spent commuting. Number 4. They put their phones in a case to protect it. Please don't ask me, how do you know that? Number 3.
Okay, at this time, we're going to have introduce
Sorry.
Listen, let's review what they did. Two benefits that presented to you via their project and this presentation. They modeled the process of how to conduct an honest in action project. They talked about, they went through the different steps of the process. They show you teamwork at play. They researched all themes, and then they developed they chose their one theme and researched that. They collaborated with each other throughout, and notice they came from different states, so they weren't always together in one physical place. They used technology to communicate. They used a lot of teleconferences, Skype, emails, Facebook, okay? So those of you who live, are part of a chapter, who live distances away, oh, we can't get our results together on campus because of work schedules. These guys found a way to coordinate their times to get it done. They followed all the steps that are honest in action, as the honest in action guide tells you, suggests that you do, and they stayed with it faithfully. And I suggest all of you who are still in the process to stay in that path. And of course, they conclude with a project. So they combine scholarship, leadership, service, and fellowship. The other benefit to all of you, especially chapters who are still not getting going or are still trying to decide, you can model what they did. Maybe you can take the same theme if you like. The only difference will be the research each of you will need to be doing. So with that, let's give these guys a great round of applause.
We are, again, in the Middle States region, and I like using that word again, we are first in regional honors and action projects. Something that is not defined right now, it's in the process of being defined, but we are leading the way over the last couple of years. Congratulations, did you think you would get to this day?
Of course.
Feel better? Feel better, right? That's all good. Great job. Thank you. We're going to load up the next speaker, and while we're doing that, we just have a couple announcements, okay? We don't want everybody to run away later on after Mr. McCracken does his keynote. But just stick around for a few minutes. We still have a lot of prizes to give away, and we also want to get a group shot. We also want to share with you some other major achievements that we've done today with the Jared boxes, and we want to get all that. So stick with us, and we're going to get through it. How about if you just stand up and just stretch right in your spot for right now?
Okay, she said, fine.
Why are we standing up?
I'll be back, guys.
Number 314. 314.
Yeah, it's my time, you know.
It's your time to shine.
It's my time to go to menopause.
290. Yay, 290. 290.
Ha, nailed it.
257. 257. I don't know. 210. No? Rebecca, ready?
That's her hell she needs time.
207. Your dancing fighting power. Let's hear it. How many people from Pennsylvania? How about Maryland? Is number 219 in the house? Yeah. All right. One more. Is Jersey in the house? How about number 274?
We know that you think she's no fraternizing in the executive. Wait, what? No, oh my God, I just said like